Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens video. So it has been the weekend of Sevens. We got the very first episode of this new anime. I have already reacted to the opening and ending, as well as done a full review of the first episode. That is up on my channel if you want to check that out. And in today's video, we are going to be discussing fully, in depth, the first opening of Sevens, some hidden meanings of this opening, and some particular scenes that are very out of place and what I think they could mean, and what I think it could mean for the story, and certain characters' involvement in the story down the road. The song is titled Na Na, Na Na Na, Na Na. And it might seem like kind of a weird title, but there are 7 Nas to go along with the theme of Sevens, which is obviously the name of the show, and Na is how you say 7 in Japan. So there are many meanings just in the very title of the song, and I gotta be honest, the opening is such an earworm. I cannot get this opening out of my head, and I know there's so many people that have enjoyed the opening and that just say, yeah, it's a different opening than what we're used to, but my god, is it a catchy as hell opening. It is a bop. I absolutely love this opening. I'm not really going to be analyzing this from a lyrical perspective, just from a visual perspective. And of course, I want to hear from you guys down below. So we get into the opening with 4 cards merging in what looks like kind of a space background. It looks like a black sky. And I think that there is actually some meaning here. The opening also ends with space imagery, with planets, and it could just mean limitless possibilities. It could mean something cliche like that, or it could be alluding to the show going to space. In fact, the whole first episode, the reason that the hologram man was able to be dueled against was because the moon was full, which is more space symbolism. So I think the whole aspect of outer space is going to play a role in this show at some point. But after the 4 cards merge, we see our 4 characters with their ace monsters behind them and their names popping up. We see Yuga, Rook, Roman, and Gakuto. It's actually really, really cool imagery. Then we see our 4 core all look into the camera. Yuga is giving a smile, Roman gives us a nice wink, and the camera pans out to the 4 looking over at Goha City in its entirety, with of course that really big daunting Goha Corporation logo and building in the main view. And I think this is already setting the stage for these 4 going up against Goha Corporation. They're not in the city, they're noticeably outside of the city, and I think that is very important in this shot because it shows that in this moment, they are not part of the city. They are viewing the city from outside the borders, and I think that that's going to be the main theme of this show, at least in Season 1. Yuga, Roman, Rook, and Gakuto all caught up in Yuga creating his new road and going up against the patriarchy of Goha Corporation. The next shot of note is everyone, all the students just bored in class. We see a Goha drone slowly start to make his way towards Yuga, who is clearly asleep in this scene. The Goha drone starts to get noticeably angry and upset and starts to yell at Yuga. I'm not sure what the point of even having a teacher in the classroom is if the Goha drone is going to be the one that is dishing out the punishment for a student sleeping in class. And it looks like the drone is actually grabbing Yuga and pulling him by his hair, to which all the students are laughing, and Roman even cracks a smile. It looks like she's startled at first, but she cracks a smile at Yuga's goofiness, and that smile sort of sets in. In the very next shot, we have Yuga and these 2 unnamed friends from the first episode running down the hallway. Gakuto and the 2 people that we do know the name of the girl, I can't remember her name, but his 2 cronies are behind him, blocking the path. Again, Gakuto is a complete clown. It's absolutely incredible. Then we see Yuga and his friends marching down the hall as opposed to walking, because Gakuto obviously just yelled at them. Gakuto and his 2 companions formally standing and patrolling the halls because he is the class president, and Yuga and pals walk out of the hall instead of run down the hall and away. We then see a shot of the Core 4 in chibi art form, and it looks like they're flashing back and forth from their regular persona and what they look like when they're dueling. There's not much of a notable difference. Gakuto looks a little more samurai-esque when he's dueling. He's got kind of like a black cape on, so that's pretty cool, but the other 3 characters don't really change too much. And the very next scene we really are playing into this scene of card games on Gundam. It's Yu-Gi-Oh! Gundam almost. We see this giant mech, this giant robot that Yuga is clearly trying to build, and the fact that it's in the opening and was in the very first episode, something Yuga was dreaming about, I think this is something that is going to happen. I think it's going to be something that the 4 of these characters are going to control, and there's going to be a massive duel between 2 mechs at some point in this show, which is going to be really cool. We then see Yuga and Gakuto, our 2 comedic characters. Gakuto staring down at Yuga as he is hacking into a drone. And then we see Roman and Rook, and Roman, clearly a more serious character of the 4, at least through the first episode. Rook as well. Rook had a few more goofy moments than Roman, but again, these 2 are really the counterweight to Gakuto, especially Gakuto, to Gakuto and Yuga's goofiness, and I do think there is a good relationship between the 4 of them, and Rook is trying to understand his ability to shut off machines and shut off electronic devices. We still really don't know why. Roman is obviously observing him, and the image is very much from Roman's point of view, and the reason it's from Roman's point of view is because you have a purple background with stars and a purple floor. Roman was also the character that they showed right before this image, so this could be taken as Roman is trying to observe and learn how Rook is able to do this. And based on what we know about Roman from the first episode, she is constantly trying to learn and document things that are going on. The reasoning for that is a little sketchy, but we'll get into that later. We then see a smiling Goha drone come down from the top of the shot. It's very quick. I'm not really sure the meaning of this. I don't know if there's some link between the Goha drones and Rook's ability that goes beyond Rook being able to just turn one off and short circuit one at any given moment. But we then see some draw features, the 4 characters just start singing, and we're about to get one of the more interesting shots. Sevens Road Magician takes on Blue Eyes, which obviously happened in the very first episode. We then see Luke's Dragears, his dragon, come into frame, and it looks like Luke's Dragears joins the fight between Blue Eyes and Sevens Road Magician. This could very well symbolize that Rook was the first one that took on Hologram Man and was involved in the duel between any sort of character and Hologram Man. Of course, he was not directly involved in a duel between Hologram Man and Yuga, so it also makes me think that maybe Hologram Man, with his blue eyes, will make a return at some point. I mean, clearly, he is a Goha hologram, and if that's the case, and Goha knows how to code him, they probably can implement him at any security station or any point in the city, so we might still see more of Blue Eyes outside of the first episode, but it could also just be symbolizing that Rook was also involved in setting up the duel between Yuga and Hologram Man, and in turn, Sevens Road Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon. We then see Yuga smiling, and here is where things get very interesting in this opening. It's a very bright, it's a very blue sky, it's almost like the theme of Yuga, the hue of Yuga, the personality of Yuga is very clear. It's very bright. It's very open. The sun is out. The sky is beautiful. The very next shot is Roman, and this shot is extremely out of place, which is why I feel it's one of the most fascinating shots that this entire opening gave us. This shot is extremely out of place. It is Roman crying in a very dark room. That is her guitar case next to her, but this is a complete opposite contrast from the previous image where Yuga was smiling and the background was very bright and pretty. Now Roman is in a dark room where the background is very dark and grim, and she is crying by herself. Really the only shot to this point that is not happy or funny or goofy. It's very out of place. Even look at Roman's body language. Her one arm that's not drying off her eye is holding her legs closer to her stomach. She has a very closed off sort of body language in this shot. And this immediately makes me think, especially with how sketchy she was in the first episode, that she is a spy. That she is working for Goha Corporation. Maybe she has a family member that works at Goha Corporation that said, yeah, spy on these 3 for us. There's something going on here. And as she becomes friends with these 3 characters, with Yuga, with Rook, and with Gakuto, she's going to start to be torn between carrying out her mission that her family or a friend or someone from Goha sent her on, and breaking the hearts and stabbing her true friends, 3 boys that have become her best friends in the back. That's what this scene screams to me. It's just very out of place, and I don't think you have this scene in here if there's not something darker and deeper to Roman's character. And the actions and statements that she said in the first episode, she is highly suspicious, and I am so intrigued to see where Roman goes from this point on. And then the very next shot, we're back where the colors are very bright and vibrant, and the mood is very happy. But Roman is nowhere to be found. Rook is beating up Yugioh with his duel disc, really with the monsters. He's defeating Yugioh in a duel. You see Gakuto stunned in the background. The very next shot, Yugioh slams Sevens Road Magician on the duel disc, and him and his friends are all cheering, as this time it's Gakuto getting his behind handed to him by Yugioh in a duel. So those shots are pretty fun. Then we have Yugioh driving down the street with Gakuto and Rook right behind him. We have a great shot of Roman, who is in really, really cool uniform. I guess it's maybe like a band uniform, playing guitar. Obviously, that's going to be a very hopefully highly featured aspect of her character. It was already mentioned in the first episode that she is the guitarist of the school band. So there are a lot of aspects of Roman's character, and it's a very deep character that I already really, really enjoy. We have another shot of Rook and Gakuto following Yugioh, almost blindly following Yugioh down a road as he is motorcycling or scootering down the street. Then we get some shots of the characters' monsters, Gakuto's ace, Roman's ace, and eventually we have this rush duel disc just floating in outer space. The very first shot of this opening looks like it might be in outer space. We now have another shot where we see planets and we see a bit of a solar system here. Does that mean that these characters at some point will be going to space? It might. It also could just mean that rush duels are that infinite possibility, that limitless possibility in reality that Yugioh has discovered. Cool imagery here. We have the 4 characters going across screens. Once they reach the halfway point, they transition to their ace monsters. Just to rewind a little bit, of the monsters we see, it looks like we have the Carrillo of Yugioh Sevens. I know the card has already been revealed, but that looks like the Carrillo of Sevens, making the opening visuals right in the background there. So that's really cool. And then we have a brand new character. This imagery is also very similar to the Roman imagery a little earlier, where the colors are dark, it feels out of place in the opening, and it's a character who looks like he's probably Yugioh's age, who has his hand on the window, observing the city in a very dark room. The setting of this scene is very depressing and mysterious, and I think this character very well could be the rival of Yugioh Sevens. I think we might be looking at the rival of Yugioh Sevens. Dark theme. Is he in some way related to Roman, who also had a pretty dark shot in this opening? Maybe, but that's one of my favorite shots from the opening as well. And then right from this scene with the boy, we transition to adults. They all look like corporate drones with Goha Corporation obviously in the back. Even if they don't work directly for Goha, I think everyone works for Goha in one way, shape, or form, because again, this is a dictator. No matter what job you have, you are going to be serving Goha Corporation. And I think that's what this shot symbolizes, that all of the adults are pretty much slaves to the Goha Corporation, and that's why in this shot you have that Goha symbol in the background. We don't need that Goha symbol in the background for the next shot because the masks are on, and these are direct employees of Goha Corporation. I'm not sure how they see out of those masks. It's honestly very unnerving to me because it looks like people that just have these masks on that are just being completely brainwashed and mind controlled and have no individual thought of their own, and that's why they don't even need to see their eyes, because they're just half robots and half humans at this point, or again, humans being controlled by Goha Corporation androids. It is a bit of an unsettling shot. And then I think we have our elite task force. Also, I like how in the past shot, these employees were down the hall from the door to pretty much symbolize that they're not directly at the top. This is the group that's at the top. And let the Roman is the middle one theory begin, because as I've talked about, Roman holds a lot of mystery to her character, and the person in the middle, it's hard to tell if it's a girl or a guy, really impossible. It also could be the guy that was in the shot of that darkened room looking out the window, but that looks like a kid. Whoever is in the elite task force here, the 6 members, that's very short, unless it's a short adult, that looks like a kid in the elite task force. And the very next shot, as the camera continues to go closer and closer to the door, higher and higher up the hierarchy, we now enter the door, and there is Mr. Goha, the man responsible for every single thing going on in his city. He controls everything from dueling, to food rationale, to law, to eating, to business, to housing. He is everything. He is Goha, Mr. Goha, president of Goha, and I really hope that he is a villainous character. We then see the entire cast above Goha City. Again, the opening starts with them outside of Goha, and the opening ends with the characters outside of Goha. But you can still tell that it's Goha City, and you can still see that Goha Corporation logo and tower protruding from the streets. I really think the overarching takeaway here is it's going to be these 4 versus Goha, which I think most of us have already pretty much known about. But guys, that is my in-depth analysis. I know we went really in-depth on opening 1 of Yugioh Sevens. I think there's a lot of imagery here. I think there's a lot of meaning, and I really think that this is a very well put together opening. I like the song. It's an earworm, and again, I think the visuals, even though for the most part it's very upbeat, it's very happy, it's very bright, it's very vibrant, there are a couple shots here that do not fit that mold. And the most noticeable one is the one with Roman, because she is in the opening as much as the guys are, and yet she has that one shot that clearly insinuates there's something a little deeper and darker to her character, and it really makes me excited to see where we are going to go from here with her and with the cast of Sevens. But guys, thank you all so much for watching my thoughts on opening 1. I told you guys there was going to be a lot of Sevens content coming to the channel, and that really is going to hold true probably for the next 3 years. So I'm excited to go on this ride with all of you. Special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Panther J, Smith620, Jorge Leon, Blue Maiden 28, Jarrett Buller, Gabe G, and Aura Dragon, and to my Diamond tier patrons Jesse Wood, Latrell Smith, Sean, and Melinda Phantom, and to my Egyptian God tier patron Syn Cloud. Thank you to everyone who is a patron, and thank you to everyone who is a channel member, and thank you to everyone who just watches my videos. Without all of you guys, I would not be able to do this. Thank you all so much for watching. I will talk to you down below, and I hope you have an amazing day.